Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the KIWIEARS X Crinacle Singolo. Singolo stands for single, and that's what we have. We've got a single 11mm custom driver, which they've coupled together with well, it's not novel because it's been done by others, but a system whereby they have a resonance circuit associated with that driver, known as a helmet resonator. And we've seen other brands use this as well already. We've seen a fool using it in the Magic One a couple of months ago, and that was straight away the reason for all sorts of, because our fool is full of this and they are cheating us and they are not being honest and it's all a gimmick and blah 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 blah. But now all of a sudden with the Singolo, none of that is happening because I don't know, because maybe it's KIWIEARS, because maybe it's Crinacle, I don't know. Anyway, it's exactly the same thing, people. Okay, the difference here is that in the full, in the Magic One, that resonation or that resonating circuit was done in a way to emphasize a specific band of frequencies so as to give that single BA a little bit more bass. Okay, and that's where I think one of the biggest issues with the Magic One was made, because it's a single BA and it costs $139 and it's crazy money. The etymatics are even more expensive, and the etymatics don't necessarily have a better execution than the Magic One does. That's the first thing, single. The second thing is we have to consider that it's a single BA. It cannot be like a single DD in terms of its bass execution. We have to, at the very best, we would have to take a 4 or a 5mm dynamic driver and make it sound as good as what the Magic One can sound. And if you can find me a 4 or a 5mm dynamic driver that can play better than the Singolo, then I'll keep my mouth quiet. Until that happens, the reality is this: the Magic One, for a single BA of such a small size, is a very well executed driver, and it plays very well. Period. End of story. It's a single BA, people. Single BA. The Singolo has tried to using that resonating circuit to decouple slightly the bass, the sub bass from the mid bass, let's put it that way, by creating a small little dip there at about 250 hertz, more or less. The reality is this: you don't notice it. It is such a minor dip. I'm talking about a dB and a half at the most. It's not you cannot perceive it. Trust me, you cannot perceive it. All right, that's the reality. And then the rest is just the normal Crinacle tuning, which is always very safe, always very politically correct, and in my opinion, focused on just doing sales. Obviously, the gimmick here to incentivize those sales has been, we've used this Cars novel system that wow, and we don't have no electronic crossover doing that specific de-emphasis of an area of frequencies there to emphasize or to give us the perception that we have a subwoofer, blah 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 blah. Hey, it's marketing. It's just to make us spend more money. That's the reality, and that's one aspect that I feel a little bit saddened, because be it Crinacle, be it HBB, because they are the two more prominent reviewers that have collaborations, and you also have some from Z Reviews, and you also have as well Timmy from Giz Audio also doing his thing now. But if I have to look overall and see who probably has been the most truthful, the most successful, I would probably say it's been Timmy from Giz Audio. I would say that both these products have actually, for the most part, been very, very truthful and very realistic, and what they was meant out to achieve, they've achieved. The same cannot be said about the HBB. He has one hit and then quite a few misses. I mean, the latest one being the Hades, and then to use the excuse that, no, don't look at graphs because graphs don't say the truth about everything. There's some reality, or there's some truth in that. And the graphs it's all about the music. Well, about the music, okay, I've got some news for you. EDM, hip hop, that kind of music, yes, it is mastered and recorded with a very heavy bass presence, but it's also got the rest of the frequency range there present. So that excuse, it's a bass head, no. You listen to some EDM, some hip hop, some really heavy bass music on that thing, and it will not sound like it was recorded. End of story. And if I want that, I just take a normal single DD of reasonable quality, take a KZ for example, and I EQ the crap out of it, and I will get the same sort of sound. I mean, the Rose Finch from KBE, everybody, even myself to a certain extent, because at the time I didn't really grasp what was being intended. I gave it some light criticism, but the Rose Finch is amazing. The Rose Finch walks all over the Hades. I've said it before, and I'll say it as many times as need be. It walks all over the Hades. The Hades is a mess. At least with the Singolo, that safety in the tuning does allow Crinacle to offer us a boring product, because it is a boring product. I mean, this is basically a not as well executed, in my opinion, Truth Hears Zero Red. It's something very similar as well to the Zero 2, okay, but a little bit more boring, if I have to be honest. And it just, I wish that instead of just wanting to churn out constant IEMs in collaboration, they would, yes, do it. It's legitimate. It's legitimate that they do it, that they have, but do something really groundbreaking, something that's really unique, and that people will be talking about it in 5-10 years time about it, because it was so good. Do that instead of just wanting to constantly just another IEM collaboration, another IEM collaboration, another IEM collaboration, and then you go listen to them and you like, okay, people, this is the truth. The IEMs have reached a level of quality and of performance that there is differences. You can perceive differences, but the differences for the majority of the time are not as drastic as you would think. So, do something that truly stands out. And this whole thing of, oh, this is a subwoofer, nonsense. I would have rather have seen this KIWIEARS having been an IEM that, yes, did use this resonating circuit to the effect that they've wanted to use it, but emphasize it even more, okay, and then add another driver or two other drivers, make it a triple DD for the sake of argument, make it a triple DD like the Panon serial, but make it a really, really good triple DD, make it a triple DD that, instead of having the price of the Panon serial, which is $300, costs, let's say for the sake of argument, $150. It can be done. It can be done. We've seen this countless times. Offers a 3DD IM, okay, that utilizes then all of these unique tuning methods, helmets resonating circuitry and RLC circuit as well, to then do the rest of the frequency division, and it sounds amazing. And that we say to ourselves, wow, they've offered a crap load of technology. Just like look, this is very simple. This is just like what happens in F1. The technology that they use in F1 cars eventually trickles down to the everyday car that we all use. So do that. Use that technology that is being used in more higher end IEMs a couple of years ago, okay, and trickle it down into something which is more affordable for the majority of us. But do it well, and well to the point where we say, wow, this is really good. This is something special. And it can be done. Okay, that is the reality. It can be done. Anyway, what we get here is an $80 IEM. Packaging is simple, nothing really special inside. We get very little in terms of its accessories. We get a very, very, very crappy cable. I mean, honestly, no, this is $80. I want a nice cable. Okay, I expect a nice cable. Some tips which again don't do the Singolo justice. They don't. I ended up having to use the KIWIEARS 07s to get out of it some decent performance, because the stock tips are nonsense. So for $80 to offer lackluster accessories, not even a carrying case. I mean, I just reviewed now I can give you two examples. I just reviewed now the nice HEK GLA Carrot and the Keyfine, the Delchi. They both cost just over $50. And wow, look at this, a nice carrying case, Oh my God, oh, they actually, wow. And they actually offered some nice tips. Oh wow, amazing. Okay, the cable isn't that fantastic as well, at least on the July, but wow. And the key find, the Delchi, oh my God, look at this. A nice carrying case, good tips that actually work. Oh my, this can be done after all. This is not such a miracle. Okay. Anyway, I know I'm not in a good mood today. As for the Singolo, it fits nicely. No issues there. I mean, KIWIEARS knows what they're doing. It's a nicely built shell. You can check out the whole circuitry. Let me see if this thing will focus, which would be nice. Let me try and do this. Okay, excuse my ugly finger there. That's that circuit which is connected to the back of the driver. You can just barely make out the exit vent there. Okay, if you look carefully, that's the exit vent over there. And then that second tube that you see over here is for the controlling of the bass, of the low bass, let's put it that way. So it fits nicely, well built, KB07 tips. I'm using an XINHS cable as well, and yeah, it's great. It's an when it comes to its physical aspect of things, beautiful. Now, the other thing that sometimes also annoys me to a certain extent is when there is an attempt to justify then the performance of an IM not being ideal unless you are using an extra expensive cable or an extra expensive source. No, if this is an IM which is perhaps budget, then it's only to be expected it will be having let's say more accessible, more budget equipment down the line, and that's how it should be tested, that's how it should be done. And that's why I try and I do a lot of reviews with dongles and so on and so forth. And why do I do it? Because that's what the majority of us have. Not all of us can be like Zeus, who has I don't know how many amplifiers, and he connects this amp to that deck and this and that, and then he connects a $45 IM to it and says, oh wow, this thing sounds fantastic, blah blah blah. But what has he got down the chain? How many thousands of dollars has he got connected there? And do they actually genuinely make a difference? I mean, I can tell you right now that, for example, I just recently tested sorry about that. As I was saying, I just recently tested the HIDs, the latest little dongle, this little one here. And you know what? For $30 it costs, it plays really well. It is actually quite amazing. So that's something that I think it's should be done more often. A little bit more care and attention should be paid to what exactly you are hooking up your IM to. Anyway. Continuing here with doing my best to not rant too much. To cut a very long story short, the Singolo doesn't sound bad. It sounds fine. It actually does sound fine. It's got a nice bass execution. I find the bass a little bit sloppy, but it sounds fine. It can give us a little bit of a rumble. The mids, upper mids and treble are, like I said, safe, although when you compare it with something like the 02 or the Truth Ears, or even the Caster, although, okay, fair enough, he had two drivers, or you compare it with the EA500LM, you can see that safety hasn't necessarily translated to an execution which is, let's say, capable enough, especially at $80. At $80, you want, or I expect, because of the way that the current market has become, I expect a performance that I consider to be on the level when it comes to mids, upper mids and treble of the EA500LM. And some of you might start saying, oh, but the EA500LM, it's got too much, and it's... People, rewind, stop. If an IM comes and it doesn't have any tuning switches like the stuff from KZ has been doing lately, it's because it doesn't have tuning switches and you can't adjust the sound and blah, blah, blah. If it doesn't have nozzles that you can exchange and the nozzles actually do something, which is the case of the 500LM, it's because it doesn't have nozzles and you can't adjust the sound. Well, I've got news for you. 500LM, the gold nozzle. I'm not the only one that says this, but the gold nozzle has got a very nice tuning. It really sounds truly good. On top of that, you have the benefit of having the other nozzles you can then adjust with their tuning kit. SINGOLO offers a tuning kit which costs like $10 or something, which you can make your own nozzle, adjust it to your own preference of sound, and you can create some unique tunings. Trust me, I've done that with the 500LM. I've got a nozzle that I sometimes use it. Really nice. It sounds fantastic, and it's a tungsten oxygen filter with a 200 grade filter as well on top of that, and a low density foam in the inside of the nozzle. The combination of those two things, it works amazing. It just sounds amazing. It brings down that energy of the mids, upper mids, and treble that a lot of people complain about it being too much. It brings it down just enough and boosts the bass just enough to give a sound which honestly I have a hard time distinguishing from, for example, the Format. They sound amazing. I think, my opinion is the Format is one of the most solid single DDs in that mid-tier price. The same thing applies to the Duno Falcon Ultra, the Tangstrom Origin. Those are all very solidly done IEMs. Very solidly done IEMs. And with that specific tuning that I do on the 500LM, that I can approximate myself to that sound. And even if I didn't do that, even just using the gold nozzle, it sounds very nice. It sounds very comparable to a Format, even maybe better than the Format in certain occasions. All of this to say what? The EA500LM is the SINGOLO's biggest problem. Because when you have an IEM like this, at that same price, equally as well built, nice cable, nice tips, carrying case, the works, it's got everything, costs the same thing. What is the feature here that would make me choose the SINGOLO? Oh, it's got that helmet resonating there because blah 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 blah. You don't notice it. It doesn't make a difference. And what even if, and let's assume that it even did make a minor difference, what you lose in terms of the mids, upper mids, and treble versus the EA500 doesn't justify it being a solid choice sonically, because it just doesn't play as competitively as the EA500LM is. The EA500 is a more competent IM, and it's actually, I find it interesting that then Crinacle criticizes across the board all of SINGOLO's products. He just calls them, average products. Why? Is it because he's got this? He should be, he's a person that supposedly has all the credibility that he has. He's a person that many of us used as references when we first began, and I don't understand him. I do not understand him. I do not understand HBB as well when he says certain things. I don't. I'm not saying that I'm devoid of any faults. No, I'm not devoid of faults. I've probably seen my fair share of shit as well. Excuse the language, because you guys know that I don't like swearing. But I always make it a point to apologize if I've done that. I always make it a point to not come across as being someone that is just concerned about making money, because that's exactly the sensation that I have from some of these individuals. Again, let me repeat, it is valid that they want to make money, but I thought you were all about the music. I thought you were all about the community. And, I don't understand. I really don't understand. Anyway, like I said, bass, it's nice. It's got a nice, fun, bouncy bass, a little bit sluggish at times, but it's got a nice sub bass presence. The mids, the upper mids and the treble is where I think it's just a little bit overly safe, and that over safety has made it a little bit unengaging. It's made it a little bit boring sometimes to listen to, in the sense that it just lacks a little bit of life. And when you compare it, like I said, to the EA500LM, you can immediately pick up on that. But if you don't want to go to the 500LM, if you have, for example, the Zero Red, and you compare it to the Zero Red, you automatically also can understand what I'm saying. Fair enough, that's two drivers. This is one trying to do what that does with two. Okay, I understand. But if you have this, you have a better IM. If you have the Zero Red, you have an IM which is cheaper and is better than the SINGOLO. So the only reason why you would have the SINGOLO is for the fact that it's unique. It's something that hasn't been done as much by other manufacturers. Okay, fine, that's great. But if I compare it to the Zero 2, which is also a single driver, honestly, I would take the Zero 2 to be as honest and as transparent and as sincere as I can possibly be. I believe the 02 is a better IM. Maybe ultimately it might be considered to be a little bit colored, okay? But it's got very nice bass execution. It's got all the bass that it needs to keep up with the Singolo, coupled with mids, upper mids and treble that are better executed in the Singolo. They are fun, they are engaging. You listen to the 02 and it's a nice IM to listen to. It's fun. I mean, for $25, it is a nice IM. That's true. That's the truth. It's also decently built. It's got nice build. The tips, okay, fine. These are not the stock tips. The tips are not exactly what I ideally choose, or the cable for that matter. But this is $25. This is $80. This is like, it's 3 times the price. Okay, and doesn't have 3 times the performance of that. Okay, we understanding each other there. So that's it, guys. I mean, like I said, the Singolo, yes, it's a decent enough IM, but no, it's just got, in my opinion, too many things that are not hitting the ball or not hitting the nail on the head. Okay, then just briefly compared with what I've selected here, which is the 02, the Truth is 0, the Caster, and the EA500 LM. With the EA500 LM, that's very easy. This is just a better IM, period. End of story. For the same price, I would go for this any day. That's it. More versatility in terms of sound, tuning versatility. It's just a better IM. Done. Compared to the 02, considering that the 02 costs what it costs, this is a superior IM as well. Okay. Compared to the Truth, to the 0 Red, okay, fine, it's 2 drivers. It's not fair to compare one with 2 drivers. Blah 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 blah. This is $50 or $55. This is $80, just based on the fact that this is cheaper. Okay. And it does give that subwoofer feel, especially when you're using the impedance adapter like I've got it here. This is again a better IM. And then finally here with the KZ, with the Caster, 2 drivers, fair enough. And yes, I'm comparing it with the Harman version, not the bass version, because this is the one that actually has a tuning style which is more similar to the Singolo. And in terms of the bass, they are actually very, very comparable. The reason why you don't perceive it that way is because this has got more energy than in the upper mids and the treble. And because it's got a little bit more energy there, it makes the bass comparatively with the Singolo sound a little bit thinner. So it doesn't sound as present, doesn't sound as imposing, okay, as the bass on the Singolo. But and I'm actually working on your tuning, and I've already done a tuning for the Caster, which if I get it where I want to, I'll share, no problem. Let me tell you something. What I've done so far, I'm very impressed. And then when you consider that this costs $15, again, I question myself. Why would I pay $80 when I can get for $15 something like the KZ Caster that actually plays very nice? And again, I'm putting aside all this nonsense of because KZ's marketing policies this and KZ's marketing policies that. I don't care. I honestly don't care. I'm looking at the IM just on the IM for what it is. And this is a nice IM. It's a very smart implementation of a dual driver. Instead of being side by side, they've done a kind of like a coaxial implementation of one driver in front of the other. It's also unique in itself. It's still got the tuning switches, which do give some adjustment to the sound. So, for the price, why wouldn't you want one? Honestly. Oh, because KZ's got dodgy marketing practices? Please, come on, people. Please. Let's be a little bit more sensible. And that's it, guys. I'll show you now the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Hi guys, welcome now to the graph section here for the KIWIEARS X Crinacle Singolo. And this is the graph I got using the 07 tips. And basically by using the 07 tips, what I was able to do was make sure that this area here, instead of having an earlier drop off or continued drop off, it's got just a little bit extra energy, and it just made it sound a little bit more detailed. All right. As you can see, that circuit, that resonating circuit, what it's basically doing is this dip here. And if you actually like I mentioned, we're talking about 1.5 dB of difference it's basically a dB and a half of a slight dip. You can't perceive it. Seriously, it's no nonsense. It looks good in the graph, but that's that. Now, once we start comparing it to some of the things that are well, that I selected and they are available. Okay, let's start then now. First one I'm going to compare it with is with the caster, okay, the Harman version with the first two switches in the on position that give it a little bit more bass, and this is basically what I get. As you can see, the graphs are almost identical and the bass in itself sounds very similar. The only difference, or the reason why the bass on the caster comes across as being a little bit more thinner, is because you have this more energetic area here between 2 and 3K on the caster, two drivers of course, and that makes things sound a little bit more forward, a little bit more open to a certain extent, and makes the bass sound a little bit more subdued. But otherwise, as you can see, they graph almost identical, very close, okay. Next one is the 02. Okay, there we go. And the 02, as you can see, same sort of bass, doesn't have that dip there in that area, okay. And then the mids and upper mids and treble, although graphically you would think that they are not as excuse me, present as on the Singolo, or that they would be more laid back. No, the reality is they are more present. You can hear more details. There's more openness in the sound as compared to the Singolo. The Singolo always sounds, like I said earlier, excessively safe, okay. And I would just prefer the 02 over the Singolo, honestly. I really would, okay. And then finally, the Truth Ears 0, which is this one here, using the 10 ohm impedance adapter. I apologize for this, but this has to do with the impedance adapter. It does this somehow. But as you can see, yes, this has got, let me just take away quickly the Singolo. This has got that tucked bass that they were looking for, tucked bass, and then a very easygoing execution of the mids, upper mids, and treble, which again seems less energetic, especially there in the transition from the upper mids to the treble. But the reality is, it doesn't sound that it's less detailed. It sounds even more detailed. It actually sounds noticeably more detailed. So yeah, that's that. And then finally, the SIMGOT EA500 LM, that particular unit that I have, okay, and using the gold nozzle. So I'm not even using the nozzle that comes or that I custom made. And I think again the graph speaks for itself. This lack of dip here in this area between 100 and 400 hertz, this energy here, you notice it in the slams of the bass are more incisive or cleaner. The bass is not as sloppy, it's more stop and go, okay. So a much more significant punch. And then the mids, upper mids, and treble, I think they speak for themselves again. Although the mids are a little bit more forward, slightly earlier, and there's an overall more energetic presentation. It just sounds very clean, very detailed. It matches the bass very nicely. Everything just comes across with a very clean sound. That's the truth. Okay, the EA500 is look, there's a reason why it is as good as it is, and that is down to time taken in its execution in terms of tuning it properly, properly chosen driver, and the desire from SIMGOT to not overcomplicate, but just offers a solid, well done product. End of story. And we've seen the original EA500, EW200, EW100, the format, the 1000 format, all of them, EM6L, all of these IEMs are IEMs that are well tuned and they sound good. So you can almost say that they're all hits, no misses here, okay? And that's that, guys. Like I said, Singolo tuning is a typical Crinacle tuning, very safe, but I think that safety has made the IEM be a little bit excessively boring, not as fun and engaging and as detailed as something like the the caster, which I've just placed up the graph again, or for that matter the 02. Let me take away the caster once more. The 02 sounds way more entertaining, way more entertaining, and compared to its very proximal sibling, the zero red. I mean, the zero red is just a nicer IM. You know, yes, it's 2 DDs, but it's just a nicer IM. And that's that, guys. Any questions, please feel free to ask me and I'll do my best to answer. Okay, you take care now. Bye bye.